I have to say, you and I did the same thing last night.
We did.
Completely independently.
We did.
We wrestled, we tussled, we fought with the new Google Wi-Fi.
We were in sync, Leo. We knew we were going to do this today.
And you had some of the same issues I had. But let's get somebody on who has tried all of them. Actually, he hasn't yet tried this because this just came, but has tried all of the new mesh router systems. These seem to be the hot new thing. Dave Hamilton is on Skype with us. Dave, of course, is the guy from the Mac Geek Gab podcast. There he is. And Mac Observer. It's great to see you again, David.
It's good to see you. Thanks for having me on, man.
So you try these in your home?
I do. I try them in my home, and I force my local family members to try them in their homes, too, because that way I get multiple long-term tests going on simultaneously.
Well, that's one of the things that is kind of important to note is your YMMV, your mileage may vary because every home is different. But these are designed to solve a problem that almost all of us have now with Wi-Fi congestion, Wi-Fi not working so well as you get farther away from the access point. Wi-Fi is a boon. It's a wonderful technology, but it seems to be getting worse in some ways as more and more people around us have Wi-Fi signals.
And IoT in the house, everything.
You know, and you mentioned congestion, and that's an important thing. When everybody that's heard about mesh hears about coverage, and that's a big thing. Yeah. But congestion matters. You know, when you've got 2, maybe even 3, 4 devices in your house streaming simultaneously, having multiple access points can actually help that more than just having one big, like, super crazy router like the, not that there's anything wrong with it, but, you know.
I remember that one.
I have that one, too.
I remember that one.
That's an Asus, right?
The spider.
Oh, that's actually the D-Link.
Oh, that's the D-Link. I have the Asus with the black one with the spider.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good router.
Yeah.
But it's good because it has 3 bands, so you can connect 3 different things simultaneously streaming without the radios having to move around. So that's part of what mesh delivers us too.
Yeah. I actually, so the other promise of these is that unlike these elaborate multi-band spiders, these are attractive in the living room.
Very attractive.
They're easy to set up. You don't have to be a geek to use them.
Supposedly.
And I guess, supposedly, we'll get to that in a moment. And I guess the theory behind all of this is they just work. And that old Apple phrase, they just work. It's kind of interesting because the rumors are strong that Apple is actually abandoning its airport routers that they've reassigned everybody on the team. Probably because this has been solved now. And
that's the thing.
Yeah, they don't. I guess they don't want to do a mesh router, but they don't need to.
Yeah.
Apple is a company that rarely is the first to market with any class of product, and typically when they come into the market, it's because they feel like they can do it better than everything they've seen. And if they're getting out of it now, it means that they don't see a future where they can do something better than, say, an Eero or an Orbi or a Luma or whatever they think the best is.
One thing both of us should say right up front is Eero is a sponsor on our show and on your on our shows and your shows.
That's right.
So there's a disclaimer there, but I think that both of us have made every effort to be absolutely objective. I actually use Eeros at home. I have 5 Eeros. Because we have a 4,500 square foot house. Eero suggests it's about 1,000, 1 Eero unit per 1,000 square feet. All of them work roughly the same. You connect. They're all, by the way, all the units are the same. You connect one of them to your router or cable modem, and then the rest of them you distribute evenly around the house, and they'll spread the network. But these aren't the same as repeaters, right? These aren't extenders.
Well, I mean, in a very raw sense, yes, they are repeating the network, but it's unfair to compare them beyond that, because when you're using a repeater in a default setup anyway, what will happen is you'll get a separate SSID, a separate network name for that repeater, and now you need to pick, or your wireless client sort of needs to pick, although certainly Apple devices will just pick whatever's at the top of the list, regardless if it's the best one. And the repeater and the router really don't know about each other and don't participate in the decision-making process, right? Whereas with Eero, with any of these things that we call mesh, one SSID, and your client certainly has a vote in which of the access points it connects to, but the access points also can participate in that decision process.
It looks like one big Wi-Fi network. It doesn't look like you have multiple units.
That's right.
And the other drawback on repeaters is that they have your Wi-Fi speed.
Yep.
So in theory anyway, there's no reduction in speed no matter where you are in the house if you have enough coverage from your Orbis or your Eeros or your Plumes or your Lumas or your, or your Wi-Fi. It should be roughly the same.
No, that's not necessarily true because a lot of these, like the Eero, the Luma, the AmpliFi, which is this, it's
Who makes the
one.
AmpliFi?
That's Ubiquity, which is a company that's been doing mesh networks for a long time.
They pioneered this.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Everybody's copying them. So which ones have you tried?
So I've tried the Eero, the Luma, the AmpliFi, which I just had here, and then Netgear's Orbi.
Okay.
And
the Luma was the Luma was, I ordered the Luma, but then it was back ordered and canceled. Amazon put a lot of money into Luma. It was going to be a big Amazon product for the holiday season. Are they available now? Because
you can get them.
I canceled it. I don't know if I need them. I've got too many of these now.
You and me both. Yeah. So the Luma I don't have in my hands because that's one of the ones that I've got in a long-term test. I test them locally here, and then I farm them out if I feel like they're going to be reliable. And the Luma actually does really well, and it's inexpensive compared to the rest. It's $299 for 3 of them.
Okay.
Hardware-wise, seems, and I only say seems, very similar to what Google Wi-Fi is and what Eero is, and it works very well. Now, software-wise, Luma is not where Eero is yet. You can't run them in bridge mode if you want to have another router. Like if you want anything non-standard, including to set your own IP address locally, or your IP subnet, can't do that. Everybody gets the same one, but it works and it's very reliable, and it's great. Yeah.
I was very impressed with Eero because you can do IP reservations, you can do port forwarding, you could do a lot of kind of geeky stuff that many people don't need to do. One of the things that I was warned about when I started, I was setting up last night, I was setting up the Google Wi-Fi, and it said, you can't run this in bridge mode. We recommend you not run this in bridge mode because you're going to lose a lot of the capabilities, including a lot of the intelligence, if we aren't the DHCP NAT router.
Interesting.
And the Eeros allow you to run in bridge mode, and they don't mention any of this.
They used to. When they first came out, they advised against it.
Okay.
But too many people were misunderstanding it. It's that if it's not your router, it can't do your quality of service control. It can't make sure your speeds.
But I want it to be the router. That's why I run the router in. I see. If you run these in bridge mode, the router is going to do all of that work. You want this to be the router. I get it.
Well, they want that to be the router,
right.
And it does a great job as a router. Like you said, it's got enough of those features that for I would say 95% of even the geeks out there, it's going to do what you want. There's some things that you might get out of your crazy, third-party firmware router like that I use or whatever. But otherwise, no, Eero's great. Eero is hands down right now my favorite of the mesh products.
I kind of agree with you on that, yeah.
And as you said, that has nothing to do with the fact that they happen to also sponsor part of the stuff that I do. When it came out, I was really bullish and still am on the this is the Netgear, this is the Orbi, so it's quite a bit bigger than the Eero.
It's huge.
It's huge, but it's got 3 radios in it, whereas the Eero, the Google, the Luma, pretty much everything else has 2, one for 2.4 gigahertz and 1.5. Again, it's all one thing that you see. The Netgear, the Orbi, has 3.
Look how big that is. Wow.
But here's the way it works. 2 of them are for the clients, right? So your iPhones and your Macs or your PCs, whatever it is, they all connect to those 2 front-facing radios. And then there's one third radio for the dedicated backhaul between the 2 Orbi units. And that radio is amazing. I've never seen a radio go as far or as fast as whatever they're doing with this dedicated backhaul.
If you want raw speed, it seems to be that everybody is agreeing that the Orbis are the fastest of all of these.
Yeah.
We should point out all of these are very expensive compared to just a single traditional router. Even a very good ASUS is a couple of $100. If you're in a 1,000 square foot apartment, one router is probably fine.
Yeah.
This is designed for houses that are spread out. You have an upstairs, downstairs, and so you're having if you're not having trouble with your Wi-Fi, it's pretty hard to recommend a $300 or $400 solution like this, right?
It's hard, but it's the right thing, right? Because at some point you're going to overload that system.
Yeah.
So if somebody's setting up a new home, I just say, just do this. and get Eero and you're fine. But watch the space. Like every 2 weeks, somebody pushes out a software update that could be a game changer. Like the reason I don't recommend, and it's so hard to say I don't recommend the Orbi. I do, but there's two things it doesn't do. Number one, it doesn't do Ethernet backhaul between the two units. Now, most people don't have Ethernet in their homes, but a lot of us, especially right now, do, because we had to solve this problem before we had mesh.
Yeah.
So we somehow ran Ethernet. If you have it, absolutely use it, because it's going to be more efficient to plug all of your Eeros in via Ethernet to each other, or your Lumas, but the Orbi won't do that.
Yeah.
So if you happen to have Ethernet, you can't use it. And if you plug it in, it gets a little wonky. And then the other
Stacy Higginbotham has Ethernet in every room, so every one of her Eeros has hard wire.
Yeah.
And I think that is, obviously, that's the ideal way to do it if you can.
Oh, it's killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to say, no, you haven't, you just got your Googles. You haven't had a chance to play with these. Florence and I both got ours yesterday. Neither one of us had a very good experience setting it up. When I first got the Eeros, and it might have been that I had a bad Eero, when I first got the Eero unit, the idea is you install the first unit, the one that's connected to the router, and then you launch the app and you place the next unit a little farther from that. You know, you're starting to spread out through the house. And I was doing this with the Eero, and I couldn't get anywhere. Everywhere I picked was too far away. They all three ended up in the same room. That's no good. That's not giving me any better. That's nothing.
That's not recommended use case.
Now, I sent it back to Eero. They sent me a new unit, which did work and didn't have that problem. So I was very surprised when the same exact thing happened to me last night with the Google Wi-Fi. I could not get the second and third units at any distance at all from the base unit. They all had to be within like 5 feet. So I don't know if there's something wrong with the ones I got, or
What's going on at your house, man?
Yeah,
I have
is it
a
made of brick?
challenging environment.
Yeah.
You know what? We have cages everywhere, and that's probably not a good thing. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't know what it is. It's a modern house. It's not. It doesn't have metal in the walls. I don't know, but for some reason, it's a challenging environment. Probably because there's so much stuff. I have Sonos going on. Every room has a Sonos, so that's using up a lot of 2.4 gigahertz. There's a lot of stuff, right? It's a challenging environment. Same thing here in the studio. In any event, I'm going to keep playing with this. Maybe there's a firmware update. That's one of the things all of these offer that's really great. In fact, nowadays, because of security issues with routers, you're going to want a router like any Internet of Things device that regularly updates and has fixes and patches. And all of these companies have pledged to regularly patch their routers, not just for security, but also to update capabilities, as you mentioned, Dave, and to, at least according to Eero, and Google says this too, to kind of take a look at what the environment is and modify your system to match your environment. So they're learning about the kinds of things you use. If you use a Roku or an Apple TV, they'll learn. I'm very surprised that Google, the user interface, the setup, in every respect, the Google is difficult to use, and I'm a little disappointed. I hesitate because we've only had it for one night. What was the problem you had? It just didn't work right away, or?
I have no idea.
It just.
We've always had problems. We were having the problem that Dave mentioned earlier about the repeater downstairs.
Yeah.
It was causing a bunch of problem. We had a bunch of people at our house. It killed all of the connections for some reason. We couldn't get more than 3 phones,
That's
3 devices on the Wi-Fi
You're
at a time.
Party and nobody can use the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So this is supposed to fix all of that. After about an hour, we got it all set up. But I still don't know what the issue was. I just know that it works, and I'm thankful for that.
And you did have to call tech support. We were trying here, once again, I wanted to demonstrate the setup. Same thing, it never found the base unit. It said call tech support. Maybe I have a bad unit, I don't know. I'm going to send it back and see if I can get another one. But at this point, I'm kind of in the same park as you are, David. I like the Eeros. Not because they're a sponsor, but because of all of them.
Because it works.
It works.
And that's the whole point of these. They're supposed to be easy for anybody to set up. It doesn't matter if you want to put it into bridge mode or do any of that stuff, because the common user.
See how fast that's happening there?
Yeah.
It didn't happen that fast.
It did not.
It did not go that
This is
fast.
true.
I don't know what's going on.
I can attest.
Yeah, that's a little misleading. Yeah.
Oh well, you know.
Give it 6 months, right? I mean, they're new.
Yeah, it's true.
To
They're
the
new.
market.
This just came out, the Googles.
That's right.
All right. So of all of them, how about the Ubiquity? Because I've been very interested in And they pioneered this market.
So yeah, so the Ubiquity is interesting because the base state, in comparison to all the others, that all the units look the same. This is the base station, and this is a touch screen actually that lights up, and it'll show you the status of your network and all that stuff. It's got its Ethernet ports and all that good stuff on the back. Your satellites, for lack of a better term, I think they call them mesh points, actually plug into your wall outlets
like
and
a repeater.
sit.
Oh.
Yeah, like a repeater.
And look at the size of that antenna.
It comes right off.
Look, it
It's got
comes
a little
off.
Magnetic. Yep. So some people have said that's a good thing because if you hit it and it doesn't break it. Other people have said it becomes a toy for their little kids and they hate that.
Wait, so it doesn't work if you take it off?
No.
No.
Because I'm imagining,
That's
like,
the
let me
antenna, I
bring.
think.
Power reigns. Right.
Now, see, I didn't know about these. This is the new. Ubiquity has been traditionally, for the IT guy, very hard to work with. The original Ubiquity mesh, you had to have a PC with a Java client running on it in order to configure it. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but it sounds like they've really made this much more accessible. What's the name of this? I'm looking for it.
This is called, it's separate from their kind of enterprise very prosumer stuff. This is called AmpliFi.
AmpliFi.
AmpliFi.com, AmpliFi.
And how does it work for you?
It's fine. It works great. They've got a great setup app. One thing that's worth noting, the Eero, the Luma, the Google all require the cloud to help manage these devices. The Orbi from Netgear and the AmpliFi from Ubiquity are controlled locally, like a traditional router would. It means they don't continually get sort of the cloud hive mind intelligence constantly being put to use, but it does mean that you can connect them up and use them locally. And I had good luck with them. I don't like, again, the fact that there's no way to do Ethernet on the mesh points, and your placement of the mesh points is limited. It's because you've got to plug it in low to the ground. Unless you've got outlets high, but most of us don't.
Right.
So now they're in the way of not only furniture, but what Star Trek calls ugly bags of mostly water, i.e. us humans. And water and metal are the worst things for Wi-Fi. So it's cool. I don't know. It's fun, but it's not my favorite. Like I said, the Eero, if you're looking for something easy today, the Eero's it.
All right.
If you're looking for like the best tech and the fastest stuff and you're willing to make some sacrifices, the Orbi is it. But keep an eye on the software because that could change the whole game.
And we should underscore, this is not something for people who aren't having Wi-Fi issues. If you, because it's very expensive.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Yeah. But
if it ain't broke, fix it till it is.
Yeah. Lisa, I was going to install these last night. Lisa says, over my dead body. It's all the Eero's working. Don't touch that. Don't touch that. So I had to take it in my office.
I can understand that.
Yeah, not messing with it if it's working. Thank you, Dave Hamilton, Mac Geek Gab, the Mac Observer. You're doing the hard work here. That's hard to do a comparison of all of these. That's great. I appreciate it.
It's harder on my family, like you said, so because they've got to deal with this stuff all the time.
Where's the Wi-Fi? Why is the Wi-Fi down? Where's the internet?
It's kind of slowing me down too. That's I'm going to keep the Eero, and then see. We actually have for this and other reasons, 2 networks in the house, 2 Comcast networks. So I have my own lab network that I can
like having your own phone number.
And by the way, when you mess up your network and you have 5 echoes, you have to go around to each and every echo and reprogram it. It's no fun. Don't do it.
5 echoes.
I like echoes.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Thank you, Dave Hamilton.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Take care. Bye-bye.